Hey everybody, so while you're working on your final drafts, I was thinking about some of the feedback that I gave a lot in um, the feedback that I gave on your rough drafts. And I wanted to give you guys an example essay to look at as you're trying to integrate some of that feedback I gave into your final drafting. And one of the things that I found that I was giving a lot of feedback about was organization. Because there's this tricky thing, the way that the learning modules are set up in MindEdge, even when you're doing your rough draft, it's still asking you those questions to try to prompt you to get all of your information on the page. And so I noticed that I got a lot of drafts that had a lot of detail and were very good, but that still felt a little bit like um, direct answers to those questions. And so some of you may have found that I gave you some feedback where I said, okay, your next step is to take this and put it in essay organized format to make it look like paragraphs that flow from one to the next. And to sort of break the chains of those MindEdge questions that keep you dealing with the pieces of information like they're separate pieces rather than a fully organized essay. And I know that doing that can be a little tricky, especially when you've been working with that module that prompts you with those questions. And so I wanted you guys to see an example of a rough draft. Now, this is a rough draft, not a final draft, but a rough draft that looks very much like an organized final essay. So that you could sort of see what I was talking about. So I'm going to post this to our announcements this week. But I'm also going to have this video up there, obviously, so that you can go through and look at it and see what I'm talking about. So a couple of things that I wanted to point out about this essay, most of them are about organization. I'm putting this up here because I really want you to see the way that this essay is organized. But first of all, if you look at it, you can see regular paragraph format. I mean, I need indentations here, but beyond that, it's regular paragraph format. So these are complete paragraphs. And they really flow well from one to the next. And that's what I'm going to be looking at today to help give you guys some guidance. And so what I've done is I've highlighted some things that I want you to notice about this essay. This sentence I highlighted just because I think it's a great introductory sentence. It tells me right up front exactly what this student is going to be talking about, and is very persuasive. So this essay is about technology in the classroom, using technology in order to improve education. And if you look at the second sentence right here, he says, if you look back into a classroom from 100 years ago, it looks almost the same as one does today. And that's pretty correct. You know, that's a really impactful sentence because it makes me think about how much we haven't really changed the way that we do classroom education, even though we have all these new tools available to us. So I just thought that was a great sentence, and I highlighted it so that you guys could see it. And so that's a good way to handle an introduction, right? What's a sentence that I can put up front immediately that gives a good summation to my reader, my audience, that shows why this topic is so important? And I read that and I thought, well, go on. I want to know more. I want to know more about how you want to change the modern classroom. So I thought that that was really great. And then this information that follows it just backs up this sentence and reinforces this idea that we need to add technology to the classroom. And then down here, this very last sentence of the first paragraph is the thesis, and that's where your thesis statement should go. It should land at the very end of the introductory paragraph because it needs to tell your audience, here's exactly what I'm going to be arguing. Here's what you can prepare for in this paper. And what I like about this thesis statement, you don't have to do this, but I think it's cool that this author did it, he says, it's clear that we need to focus the software to make it more efficient in its ability to reach multiple learning capabilities, be integrated into earlier years of school, and successfully connect students under a common purpose. So you'll notice those three things that I've highlighted there, those are his key points. So I know from reading this thesis exactly what he's going to be talking about. So what I've done for you is I've highlighted each of the key points in a different color. And then you can see the sentence, the topic sentence of the paragraph that corresponds to those key points. Because one of the things I said in my feedback a lot was that I wanted everybody to work on topic sentences, on making sure that when I read your paragraph, I can tell exactly what point you're arguing in that paragraph, and this student did a really good job of that, and so I wanted y'all to see this as an example. So up here, my first key point is reach multiple learning capabilities, and then here's a sentence that says the technology we are using now is not efficient because it's not focused enough around education. Education is lacking because we can't effectively help different learning styles of students. That connects directly back to this, right? Multiple learning capabilities, multiple learning capabilities. So I know, oh, the author's about to talk about this key point. And all the information in this paragraph that follows connects back to this idea. It's all about focusing on these specific learning styles. The student also did a good job of integrating quotes, so if that's something you're having difficulty with, most people did a pretty good job with that, but if that's something you're struggling with, here's a good example, right? There's a relatively short quote, and he immediately goes on to explain exactly what the quote means in the context of his paper. So this whole paragraph connects to this point that's highlighted. Then we'll look up here. I have my purple, and there's my purple point. Technology can bring students together more consistently than the modern school system. Is that one of my points up here? Yep, it is. Successfully connect students under a common purpose. And then again, all the information in this paragraph can be tied directly back to this topic sentence. And then he does that again with the third point. So topic sentence, and then information that proves this topic sentence. And then down here, we have his refutation of the opposing viewpoint. So after he's dealt with his 3 points, he introduces his opposing viewpoint here using a quote. So he jumps right in by using the opposing author's exact words, and then explains what those words mean, and then goes on here in the sentence that I have highlighted in red to write a paragraph that refutes those ideas. And he says, he acknowledges and respects that argument and says it's a reasonable argument to consider, but he's failing to look at some helpful information, and he's failing to look at it from all perspectives, and then explains that really well. And then we have a conclusion, and if you read through the conclusion, you'll notice he mentions all of those key points again. So if you read through this, you'll see him bring those key points back up one more time just to remind the reader, here are the points that I'm trying to make. So I wanted to post this for you because I think it's a really well-organized rough draft, and when I gave feedback, I also gave this student some suggestions, so there's still things that can be done to make it even better, but I thought it was a great example of organization, and so I wanted to put it up for you guys to see. So hopefully that'll be a little bit helpful, and thanks to the student for letting me use their paper. And if you guys have any other questions, just shoot me an email.